All right, let's play detective today. We're diving into a mystery in the world of AI, a case where the numbers look absolutely perfect, but the results, they're a complete disaster. We're about to uncover how a single shiny number can tell you a very, very convincing lie.
So let me just start with this question. What if I told you that a model that's right 99% of the time could actually be a total failure? I know, it sounds impossible, right? How could something that's correct 99 times out of 100 be useless? Well, the answer reveals something really crucial about how AI works and why we just can't always trust the numbers we're shown. So here's our crime scene. A bank invests a ton of money into a new, state-of-the-art AI. Its job? To detect fraudulent transactions. The data scientists come back with amazing news. The model is 99% accurate. But down in the accounting department, the alarms are going off. Losses from fraud are actually higher than they were before. What in the world is going on here?
To solve this mystery, we have to start by interrogating our prime suspect, that 99% accuracy figure. As it turns out, that number, it's a fantastic liar.
You know, on the surface, accuracy seems like the perfect way to measure things. It's so simple and intuitive. It just answers the question, how often was the model right? You just take the number of correct predictions and divide it by all the predictions it made. But that beautiful simplicity is exactly what makes it so dangerous in our case.
So here's the trick. In the world of fraud detection, almost all transactions, we're talking like 99.9% of them, are totally legit. So an AI could get a 99.9% accuracy score by doing something incredibly lazy, just predicting not fraud for every single transaction. It would be right almost all the time, but it would be completely useless at its one and only job, actually catching the fraud.
Okay, so if accuracy can't be trusted, where do we actually find the truth? Well, we need to go deeper. We need a tool that forces the model to confess everything. And that tool is called the confusion matrix.
The confusion matrix is basically our interrogation room. It doesn't just give us a simple right or wrong. Oh no, it tells us how the model was right and, way more importantly, how it was wrong, by comparing every single prediction it made to what happened in the real world.
Now, the matrix itself is just a simple little grid. The columns show what the model predicted, either fraud or not fraud. And the rows, they show what actually happened. When you compare the two, you get 4 possible outcomes.
First up, the true positive. This is the hero of our story. The model yelled fraud, and guess what? It was actually fraud. That's a perfect catch. We want this number to be as high as possible.
Next, we have the true negative. This one's also super important. The model said not fraud, and it was a perfectly legitimate transaction. It correctly let an honest customer go about their business. Now, in our bank example, this number is going to be huge, and that's the number that was inflating that misleading accuracy score.
All right, now for the mistakes. Our first type of error is the false positive. This is when the model cried fraud, but it was actually a normal purchase. This is a false alarm. It's really annoying for you when your card gets declined, but from the bank side of things, at least no money was lost. And here it is, the smoking gun. The false negative. This is when the model said, nope, not fraud, but it was actually a fraudulent charge. This is the thief that got away clean. The model was totally asleep on the job, and the bank lost money. This is the mistake that was killing our bank's bottom line.
So now that we have the real evidence from the confusion matrix, we can start calculating 2 times way more useful metrics. They get right to the heart of this trade-off that every single model has to make: precision and recall. Let's break these down into simple questions. Precision basically asks, of all the times we sounded the fraud alarm, how often were we actually right? It's all about making sure your positive predictions are solid. Recall asks a totally different question. Of all the actual fraudulent transactions that happened, how many did we manage to catch? Its focus is on not letting any of the bad guys slip through.
A good way to think about precision is to imagine a sharpshooter. A high-precision model is extremely careful. It's not going to take a shot unless it is absolutely sure. Its main goal is to avoid those false positives. It really doesn't want to hit any innocent targets.
Recall is pretty much the opposite. It's like casting a giant fishing net. A high recall model's goal is to catch every single fish in the area, even if that means you accidentally catch a few dolphins, or false positives, in the process. It absolutely hates false negatives. It cannot let a single threat escape.
And there it is. That's the solution to our case. The bank's model was a terrible detective because it had awful recall. It was so afraid of annoying customers with false alarms that it set its standards way too high. And in doing so, it let the real criminals walk right out the front door. The recall was in the basement, and that's why the bank was losing a fortune.
So, this leads to the big question. Which one is better? The sharpshooter or the wide net? Precision or recall? And the answer is, well, it completely depends on what you're trying to do.
It all comes down to the cost of being wrong. Think about a medical test for a serious disease. You need ridiculously high recall, right? A false alarm might be stressful, but missing a real case could be fatal. You absolutely cannot afford a false negative. But for your email spam filter, you want high precision. You'd much rather a single piece of spam gets into your inbox than have a crucial email from your boss get sent to the spam folder. In that case, the cost of a false positive is way higher.
And what if you really need a balance of both? Well, for that, data scientists often turn to something called the F1 score. It's just a clever way of combining precision and recall into one single number, which gives you a much better overall picture when you care about both catching threats and not having too many false alarms.
So, as we wrap up our investigation today, I think the biggest lesson here is to always be a little suspicious of any single number that claims it's telling you the whole story.
So let's recap the key takeaways. First, simple accuracy can lie to you, especially when your data is unbalanced, like in our fraud case. Second, always ask to see the confusion matrix. That's where the real story's hiding. Third, get in the habit of asking about precision and recall so you can understand the trade-offs. And finally, always remember that picking the right metric comes down to understanding the real-world cost of each kind of mistake.
And really, this is just scratching the surface. The main thing to remember is that AI performance isn't just one number. It's a curve, a series of trade-offs. You can actually tune a model to have higher precision if you're willing to sacrifice some recall, or the other way around, until you find that perfect balance for your specific problem.
So the next time you hear someone make a big claim about an AI's performance, you'll know the right questions to ask. You are now officially equipped to look past those flashy headlines and understand what's really going on under the hood. So the real question is, how are you going to use this to question the AI that's all around us, shaping our world?